All right, there you go. See, your good Aggies in the audience are like all
That's
ready for
right.
that. All right. Well, I'm Terry Hall, and I'm one of the co-founders of Liberty in Action. We're one of the groups that's hosting tonight. And this is
Angela Smith, president of the Fredericksburg Tea Party.
Yay! So we're your hosts tonight, and we want to introduce you. Well, first we want to talk about our organization briefly. We the People Liberty Action is basically Kirk County based. We're basically the watchdogs locally for all things politics, and we want you to be involved and engaged beyond tonight. We are going to be putting out a voter guide. We do work the polls. We do block walking. So if you want to get involved and get behind some of these candidates tonight, please do. We have a sign-in sheet out at the table in front, and I know that Angela's the same way with her organization. We are at liatx.com to find out more.
And Fredericksburg Tea Party, I echo most of what Terry has to say, because we are a grassroots patriot organization that loves this country and loves the Constitution and are a Christian conservative Constitution.
Yes, amen.
And yes. So
very intentional.
We have actually, Fredericksburg Tea Party is 17 years old this year.
Woo!
Yes, we are. And we have focused mainly at the state level because we are so close to Austin. We can drive over there for the legislative session. And that's where we've spent a lot of time teaching people how to go give testimony and meet their representatives and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in doing that with us, go to fredericksburgteaparty.org. Sign up for our weekly newsletter to find out everything that's going on in the Hill Country.
There you go. Amen to that. Okay, so would you like to introduce our first moderator tonight?
I would. He's affectionately known as MQS.
He just goes by his initials.
Yes, he does. But if you don't know who MQS is, that would be Michael Quinn Sullivan. Yes, sir. He is a native Texan, a graduate of Texas A&M, and an Eagle Scout. He's worked as a newspaper reporter, magazine contributor, Capitol Hill staffer, and vice president of TPPF. Michael is the author of 3 books, including Reflections on Life and Liberty and The Texas Minute. You may have tuned in online for his series called Real Texans. He's also currently the publisher of Texas Scorecard. Anybody heard of that? One of the best news outlets in Texas, especially when it comes to reporting the real scoop under the pink dome and across the state, not just what politicians want to tell you. A relentless taxpayer advocate and warrior for true conservative values, it is our pleasure to have Michael serve as one of the moderators for this evening's forum. Please give Michael a very warm Hill Country welcome as we welcome him to the stage.
No. All right, my turn for Luke.
He did not pay me to say that.
That's right. They did not pay us for this. Okay, now for Luke. Luke Macias, I've actually known him since he was homeschooled with some of my kids.
You're telling off on yourself.
I'm so sorry. I'm aging myself greatly here.
Yes, you are.
Because he's a dad of 5 now. 4. Okay, all right. Sorry, I had to go again. All right. Luke has been an active member in politics since 2006, really before that. And he began his company, Macias Strategies, in 2011. At 21, he helped get some of the strongest conservative legislators elected that are in the Capitol today. He has run nearly 100 campaigns for conservatives at every level of government. And Luke is known in Austin as someone who's very picky about what clients he takes and only engages with those that align with his principles. But most of you know him for his work in media. He's fierce about exposing truth of what the ruling class is. Helps hold public officials accountable through his podcast, The Luke Macias Show, also affiliated with Texas Scorecard. He's one of the best conservative political minds in the state of Texas who's in the know on just about every issue facing Texans, and we are honored to have him back to be our moderator again tonight. Give it up for Luke Macias.
Well, thank you for letting us spend a few minutes with all this evening. This evening is going to go one of 2 ways. It's either going to be an opportunity for you to hear the candidates talk about the issues facing Texas, talking a little bit about themselves, and why you should hire them to be your employee for the various positions that they are seeking. Or They will come up here as bozos and bluster and play silly games and pretend like you are the moron that a great many people who hold public office believe you to be. That's one of the two ways it's going to go this evening. And that's kind of how it's going to be up to you guys to figure out if they have earned your trust. So exciting that this kind of forum happens, because it is an opportunity for you to see the people who are applying for the job. You are on the committee to save. Too many of us don't take seriously our high calling as citizens. Hopefully, we'll be hearing from candidates this evening who believe in your high calling as citizens and are going to respect it.
The only thing I would add to that, am I on? Yeah. The only thing I would add to that is that 2 years ago, I came here to Kerrville, and it was a room much like this, filled with all patriots like this, and you were all considering what to do in the upcoming primary, and you had two forces in Kerr County. You had the establishment, the moderate, the old guard, and then you had, great. And then you had people from the grassroots. And all of you in the room at that point decided to unite and come together and get behind the right people in all these positions. And Kerr County has been talked about in the state of Texas for the last 2 years about all of the conservative victories with your county level, your party level, all of those things. So credit to you as you informed yourselves, you organized, and you delivered. So hopefully, as you hear from everybody tonight, you can do something similar for the March election.
Little housekeeping. Candidates will come up. They will have a minute. We've got a timer here. Timer highway. Even the whole time. And if they spend their time blubbering mindlessly, until they spend their time eloquently, whatever it is, they've got a. All right. After that, we will ask a few questions, and then we will turn to questions, depending on the race. This is very important. Okay. This is very important for you. Some cards are going to be handed out in a little bit for you to write your questions down. You need to make sure that you write at the top before you give your diatribe in form about your question. Make sure you note what race you are directing that question. And if you say all candidates, we probably will not see that to be able to look at it. You need to make sure that you tell us CD 21. Write that down. And see your question. That's how it will get done. So the first thing around, remember the important the race you have a question about very 50 topics in this question.
I never attended a political debate where everybody at the end said, we really wish that had gone for 31 minutes. And so our commitment to you is that we're going to try to be efficient with the time that we have and get out on time, especially with the weather.
Looking at all our next 5 minutes.
Let's go to the
we're not going to
I've known Terry Hall since I was 13 years old, just for those of you who want to know. 13 years old was when I met her. She's been a force of nature ever since then. So we are going to start with the race for railroad commissioner. We have one individual who is running for that position who has joined us tonight, Bo French. So we're going to give him 1 minute to come up, introduce himself, tell you why he's running. Michael and I will have a couple questions for him, and then we're going to let him close. We're not going to let y'all submit individual questions. For this one, we have one gentleman who has actually taken his time to come earn your vote, and so he's given the next several minutes to explain to you why he wants to be the next railroad commissioner. Come on, Bo.
All right, start the timer. Where do you want me to stand?
Right there.
Right here. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Bo French, and first of all, thank you for having me down here. I appreciate the opportunity. I drove down from Fort Worth today. Roads up there were a little sketchier than they are here. So, but I am running for Railroad Commission, which is has nothing to do with trains. It is the regulator over the oil and gas industry, which I would argue is the most important industry in Texas. I'm a business guy. I grew up in Midland in the Permian Basin. My family's been in the oil business for 80 years. And so it's an important business to me. I've been in a lot of businesses in my life. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm involved in some private equity, venture capital, and various aspects of the oil business for the last 30 years. I'm running for this position because if you're like me, I think we should vote for candidates who agree with our values as Republicans. And too often we have people in office who don't do that. My main opponent, the incumbent, was elected in 2020. Okay. Wow. It goes really quick, guys. Be ready.
In 2024, the Railroad Commission adopted some new rules that essentially put a lot of the Biden era rules onto the oil and gas industry in Texas. Texas doing to itself, Biden administration wanted to do to us. What can be done to address those rules that are
Yeah, so my opponent spearheaded the largest increase in regulations, environmental regulations on the oil and gas industry in 40 years. So at a time when we need to be making, extracting oil more cost efficient and not just benefit the super majors who have, teams of, hundreds of lawyers on staff, we don't need to be increasing regulations. Now, I'm a landowner and a mineral owner, and I have a ranch in the middle of a big oil field. And so I don't want, oil companies just, ruining our land either. So I approach it kind of from a more pragmatic stance. I want responsible regulation. So the first thing I would do would be looking at the 75 additional pages of, I call it Obama era EPA stuff because he's the one who really spearheaded that. But I would look to roll some of that back just because it's way too egregious. They went into effect just last year, so it hasn't even really hit your pocketbook yet, but it will.
It came out that the Railroad Commission in Texas, above a lot of state agencies, has been one of the most prominent agencies in their use of DEI policies. I know that you and many other conservatives have talked about this. Can you let the people here know why that's happening and if that is one of the reasons you're running?
Yeah, so we did a little digging, and it turns out that the Railroad Commission has gone from, if you rank all state agencies, has gone from 41st in the state in terms of how much they spend on DEI to 9th just in the last few years. So at a time when the rest of the country and Donald Trump wants to get rid of DEI because we recognize what it is, it's anti-American, it's anti the Constitution, and racist. They've been increasing that. So, in a $200 million a year budget, they spend, more than half their budget awarding contracts to DEI. And the biggest thing they spend money on is plugging abandoned wells. Well, we could plug more wells if you award those contracts to the people who are the most qualified for those contracts, not based on some, gender or skin color or something like that. So I would end that on day one. I don't care what the law says.
There's been a lot of controversy around revelations of how much property Red China and its affiliates have been purchasing Texas, as well as other foreign adversaries. New laws gone into effect. A lot of folks are aware on the infrastructure side of energy. What can the Railroad Commission do to address the problem of our foreign adversaries sanctions like here?
Yeah, so when I was Tarrant County GOP chair, one of the things I did to try to just awaken people to the threats of bad things happening here in Texas was we actually did a big expose on CCP aligned people who are in Texas buying up not just land but buying up our oil production. And so as railroad commissioner, obviously I would be against that and would deny those permits. I mean, we can't have our foreign adversaries benefiting off of Texas oil and gas when Texans should be benefiting from that.
So why don't we just close this out with one more minute of what you were thinking about before?
Yeah, so I mean, the main things that my campaign is focused on is reducing the regulatory burden that has happened at the Railroad Commission under my opponent's leadership. He's the chairman of the commission right now, but nobody's ever heard of him. How many of you have ever heard of Jim Wright? Anybody? Like 4 of you. Okay, so yeah, never. Okay, 8 of you maybe, in a room of a couple hundred people. So he said the other day that he has no ideology, which means he's a Democrat. So, I mean, what are we doing? Like, let's elect people at all levels of government who are, America first focused, warriors for what we believe in. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of the DEI. I'm going to get rid of foreign ownership of our oil infrastructure. And then I've also just, since we are closing, I was the first guy in Texas 2 years ago to start talking about the Islamification of Texas. Who here is worried about Islam's encroachment in Texas? Okay, everybody. So you can thank a lot of people, but I was one of the first people to really talk about it, and it been canceled by Democrats, canceled by CARE, and canceled by even some rhinos here in Texas because of my outspoken position on Islam here in Texas. So thank you very much. Look forward to earning all of your vote.
Nate Sheets, can you come up and we'll wait until you're actually in place to start the clock because this 1 minute does go quickly. Let's go.
All right. We lost 68 farms in Texas this week. 70% of all Americans have one chronic disease or more. If you think about agriculture, it's about two things: feeding people and clothing people. Currently, farmers cannot afford to be in business in Texas. I talked to a rice farmer last week. Farmed 6,000 acres. He was on the way to go sell his crop for 40% less than it actually cost him to make. Farmers cannot afford to be in business. My name's Nate Sheets. I started with one beehive in my backyard, created the largest honey company in America called Nature Nates. I own Nature Nates in Australia. The issue that we need to be able to address is to be able to help farmers and ranchers actually stay in business. And the way we do that is to be able to help them sell more product to more people for more money. It's simple, but it's not easy. And that's why I'm running to be your next Texas Department of Agriculture Commissioner. Door number 1, by the way.
There you go. There is an invasive pest moving north. Still can you hear me? Hey, you just do it.
I don't know what you want to. What pest do you want to talk about? Some invasive pest?
We'll try one more time.
Go ahead.
All right.
This is his time, not mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question. 1 minute. Moving on.
Close for his close.
With the screwworm moving in from Texas posing a serious threat to Texas agriculture, USDA has had a method that it's working towards. TDA, the Texas Department of Agriculture, has been trying something else. What will you be doing to address this invasive threat?
Well, I'm a unifier. I'm not someone who's divisive that wants to go in and posture in position and try to lay claim that I'm in charge when I'm not really in charge. So APHIS, the USDA, and also Texas Animal Health is in charge. And our current ag commissioner has decided to go off and try to use a trap and in an unapproved bait that finally our USDA Secretary of Agriculture said, stop wasting time, money, and attention with your traps that do not work and doing this for clickbait. So the challenge is when you're not a unifier, no one wants to work with you. Sid Miller told me one time that he has not had one meeting with the governor since he's been the head of agriculture for Texas. Not one time. So how do you accomplish things as a commissioner if you're not able to work with legislators, the governor, lieutenant governor, APHIS, all the way across the board? And that's one thing that's going to change when I'm in TDA.
Nate, this is an audience question. It says, how do you and your admin foster more personnel and local processing facilities in Texas?
Yeah, he said he
Let me do this. How does your admin how is your admin going to foster more personnel at local processing facilities in Texas?
Now, see, that's a 10-minute question. I got 60 seconds for an answer. But I'll tell you, if you're a producer, whether you're cotton or cattle, if you don't have the ability to process your crop or your animal, then you're relegated to go sell it to one of two buyers when there used to be hundreds of buyers. Meat processing in Texas, we had 700 meat processing plants in Texas in 1970. A rancher made 70 cents of every $1 of food, and a meat packer made 30 cents. Today, there are 4 meat packers that control 85% of the market. They make 70 cents, and the ranchers make 30 cents. When your input costs costs you more than the animal that you can go sell it for, it's not going to be tenable. It's not going to work. And so we have to find out how we can bring meat processing, how we can bring textile mills, how we can bring granaries, how we can bring all these things back so farmers and ranchers have optionality and they're not relegated to sell their crops and their produce for more than it costs them to make, less than it costs them to make.
Nate, you're running against somebody who's been in office for a long time and you've never been elected. So can you tell people how you plan on winning this race with the experience and name he has and what you're doing?
I am my HOA president, but I'm just saying, a little offended by that accusation. No, listen, we've been very blessed. I received yesterday, the Texas Farm Bureau has endorsed us. We've received the endorsement of Texas cattle feeders, Texas cattle raisers. We've received endorsements from Make Texans Healthy Again, but we've also received the endorsement from Governor Greg Abbott because he realizes that things have to change, and his words, not mine. We cannot continue to have an ineffective ag commissioner whose tenure has been an absolute disaster and have TDA filled with criminality. So if you go out and you Google, just go Google Todd Smith felon. Todd Smith felon. Just put it in your phone, go check it, and you'll be able to see exactly what the governor is referencing. I don't have time to get into it, but go Google Todd Smith felon.
Okay, this is an issue near and dear to your own heart. What can the Texas Department of Agriculture do about the honeybee population in Texas?
I do know a little bit about this because I've got 120,000 beehives. So last year we lost 65% of all the bees in America. 65%. That's massive. You know, if you lose less than 50%, that's okay because you can split your hives. But when you're at 65%, we're in trouble. Albert Einstein said, so go bees, so goes humanity. So everybody wants to know, well, what's wrong with the bees? The bees are sick from what they eat, just like us. They get into neonicotinoid pesticides. They fly out there. They get in that top of that corn pollen stalk, and they get that pollen. They fly back in. They ingest it. It diminishes their immune system, makes them susceptible to disease. And then these little blood-sucking vampires called bromites, it'd be like you have a dinner plate around your neck, come in and start to suck out your life juice. So we have to think about all of agriculture and trying to fix it, just like we're trying to do it in a microcosm with honeybees, because we can't continue to go down the direction we're going.
Nate, give these people 1 minute in your closing remarks of what you want them to know before they move.
Yes. Listen, my opponent has been in there for 12 years. He's had 3 people that have come up against him, and he's been able to win because people just don't pay attention. But it's patriots like you guys down here in Fredericksburg and Kerrville who are putting time and effort to really research and understand who these candidates are. And it's going to take you guys, as well as us, for all of us to be pulling in the same direction, because it doesn't matter if I have the governor and the Texas Farm Bureau and the cattle feeders, because it's you, we the people, that are going to make decisions. So I would ask you to go out, follow us on social media. Do go Google Todd Smith felon, because that'll help if you're on the fence. That'll help seal the deal. And then go share this with other people, because it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, black, white, Republican, Democrat. This is about our food, people. And chronic disease is rampant in America. And if we don't do things differently, your grandkids are the ones that are going to pay for it. Nate Sheets, Ag Commissioner.
Can we get our candidates for Attorney General to join us on the stage? Nope. Just Aaron. Okay. Do one at a time. I forgot.
1 minute. All right. Well, howdy, everyone. My name's Aaron Reitz, and I am your Paxton-endorsed, Trump-trusted candidate for Texas Attorney General. The reason why I'm running for Attorney General is because I believe that we are in a battle for the soul of our state and our nation. And I know from long personal experience that the primary arena in which we are fighting the dark forces of the left is the justice system. President Trump understood this, and it's why he brought me as one of the very first senior executives into the Justice Department. And when he nominated me, he said, Aaron Reitz is a true MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. And the reason for that is because of my background, litigating, investigating, suing, defending, and appealing on all of the major issues that we care about. As we talk about this office, remember, this is the chief legal officer of the state. It is not a legislative post. And when you want somebody who has been ready and battle-tested, having led legal troops into legal combat to deliver legal victories for you, it's me, Aaron Reitz, for Attorney General.
Aaron, you worked for Attorney General Ken Paxton. A lot of people enjoy having him as our Attorney General. Can you tell people what is the thing you worked on at that office that you're most proud of?
So I'm very proud of having Attorney General Paxton's endorsement to succeed him as the next Attorney General. And when he endorsed me in his statement, he said, Aaron Reitz is the only battle-tested, qualified candidate in this race that I would trust to hand the baton down to. And that's because of my record winning for Texas and for Texans on all of the major issues that we care about. I was his deputy, but the term that he often used to refer to me was his offensive coordinator. And I'm most proud of having gone on the offense on behalf of the state of Texas against the Biden administration. In fact, I sued the 46th president, that's AutoPen Joe Biden, by the way, the 46th president 46 times, and I won 85% of those cases. We went to war against the Biden administration. We went to war against big tech, big pharma, big blue school districts and counties, the lockdown counties. And we won again and again and again to defend your liberties, law and order, justice, and our Constitution. If you like what he did as Attorney General, I am the guy that is going to keep his foot on the gas. Thank you.
One of our audience questions. How will you, as the Attorney General, be able to keep Sharia law and Sharia courts out of Texas?
Let's be clear, first and foremost. Islam is incompatible with Western civilization, period. These Muslims are laundering their money and their influence with near unlimited international and national funding through a wide network of C3 nonprofits, C4 political action committees, political candidates, school districts, grant money handed to them, laundered through local governments. You need an attorney general who not only has the vision to smoke them out, but has the experience and the credibility, having done it and managed similar operations, attacking and going on offense against similar targets. I've always said this: when I'm attorney general, I'm going to treat the Islamists like the feds treated the mafia in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We didn't get them on murder. What we got them on were process crimes, financial crimes, tax evasion, racketeering, money laundering, human trafficking, drug trafficking. And we're going to smoke them out so that every last Islamist who wants to turn Texas into something it's not is going to get the heck out of Texas.
Aaron, currently Ken Paxton has joined the Republican Party of Texas in trying to close our Republican primaries and keep Democrats from voting in our primaries. The Secretary of State decided to spend millions of taxpayer dollars. Secretary of State, who, by the way, is confirmed by the Senate next session. So she'll have to get confirmed after working to try to keep Democrats voting in our primaries. I think a lot of people here want to know, if you're elected, will you as Attorney General continue to side with the Republican Party and against the Democrats voting in our own primary?
We absolutely have to close the Republican primaries, period. The Secretary of State, in its due course of business, as they often do when they get litigated against, requested the Attorney General to represent them in court. The Attorney General, Ken Paxton, rightfully declined that representation. Why? Because he would have been asked to defend unconstitutional statutes under the Texas Election Code. The reason why these are unconstitutional is because they violate the First Amendment Freedom of Association Clause. What Paxton started, I will finish. I stand with the litigation Paxton has taken up with the Republican Party of Texas. But here's the thing. Nothing has been adjudicated at the district court. Even if they win, it will get appealed up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Even if they win there, it will get litigated up to the U.S. Supreme Court. That will take approximately 12 to 18 months. You need an attorney general who has litigated all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court First Amendment issues and freedom of association issues. And in this race, I'm the only one that's done it. Every candidate will tell you close the primaries, but I'm the only one with the battle scars to show you I know how to win all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we're going to get it done as soon as I'm Attorney General.
There is a separation in our system between the Attorney General and the locally elected district attorneys, the local prosecutors. There have been an increasing number of concerns, as this person's question alludes to, of some of these district attorneys, leftist Democrat district attorneys, not prosecuting crime. What can the Attorney General's office do to address that problem?
If Texas ever becomes not Texas, it will be because of the rot that has infected our big blue cities and our big blue counties. And a primary cause of that are these radical left-wing district attorneys that are pro-criminal and anti-cop. These district attorneys have abandoned their oaths of office, their constitutional requirements, statutory requirements, and the whole 9 yards. They've abandoned you, and they've made our communities unlivable. So what am I going to do as Attorney General? I'm going to do what I said from day one on this campaign trail. Within the first month in office, am going to file petitions in the respective courts to remove them from office using something called a quo warranto action. And what we're going to argue in those actions is exactly what they have failed in their duties, and they have endangered you and your family. They have got to go. And I'm going to litigate that all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court, and we're going to get rid of these awful, rotten, Soros-funded DAs that are ruining our state.
Aaron, why don't you take one more minute to just tell people why you would like them to vote for you when they go into casting ballot in March?
You know, the first time I ever swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution was as a brand new second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. I was 22 years old, and sadly, my hair fast approaching its current state, even then. And I raised my right hand and I said, I, Aaron Wrights, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, as someone who deployed to Afghanistan, I primarily thought about those foreign enemies. The next time that I swore that same exact oath was in the West Wing with my wife and 4 kids on my left and Attorney General Bondi on my right before getting elevated to my senior position at the Justice Department. And I said the exact same oath. And yet in those intervening nearly 20 years, I had come to realize that the primary threats that we are dealing with today are the domestic enemies of our Constitution. They are at war with us in the justice system, and you need a chief legal officer who is going to go to war against them and destroy them, every last one of them. And you need somebody who's been trusted by Trump and endorsed by Paxton to keep up that fight, and I'm going to do exactly that.
Thank you, Aaron. Mays Middleton, can you come up? Now, what we're going to do is Michael and I are probably going to have a couple questions that we feel like every candidate for Attorney General should answer. And then we'll probably have a couple questions that are unique to each candidate. So, Mays, I'm going to start with a question that I asked Aaron, because I think it's something that everybody's concerned about. What is your position if you're Attorney General? Oh, yeah. You want to intro yourself? I was excited. Go ahead. Take a minute.
Time, blessed are the brief, for they shall be reelected, right? Told that a long time ago, by the way. My name is Mays Middleton, running for Texas Attorney General, and what you need to know about me is I love the Lord and I love America, and at the end of the day, what matters the most is exactly that. We are in a spiritual battle, as we saw after Charlie Kirk was killed, not just because of his conservative values, but because of his faith. And look, from day one in office, I have always been ranked as the top 1 or 2 most conservative members in the legislature. I was chairman of the Freedom Caucus. President Trump called me a MAGA champion, and not only that, he said my conservative record was second to none. And I don't take anything from this job. This is a calling for me. This is not a job. I reject the salary, the health care, all of it, because I'm only here to serve and fight for the conservative values we believe in. Also, I'm the only one that's been protested at the Texas Capitol during this campaign. They called me the bathroom bigot with big ugly green signs with my face on it. Why? Because I don't want men in my little girl's restroom, locker room, or shower.
Mays, what will your position be if you are Attorney General on siding with the Republican Party of Texas, trying to keep Democrats out of the primary, or siding with the Democrats who would like to foil our elections?
This is an easy one for me. You're looking at the author of the closed primary bill. I've filed it, I've fought for it, and I have been the victim of what happens on the other side. When I ran for office, by the way, in 2018, knocked on 6,000 doors, beat a liberal Republican incumbent who was not living up to his conservative promises, just like many of you in this room have, because why are we here tonight? To defeat the left. That's why we showed up, and to elect conservatives. And I knocked on a door in that election, had my walk list, said they had voted in the primary for the first time in that March. And they said, oh, no, I'm not a Republican. Why are you here? Well, it shows you just voted for the first time. Oh, yeah, they paid me to vote for your opponent in the Republican primary. I've seen the damage this causes on our party and how they're trying to undermine our conservative values in our primary, and I will fight tooth and nail to close our primary in Texas.
Mr. Milton, I'm going to ask the same question I asked Mr. Rice a moment ago. What can you, as the Attorney General, do to deal with the encroachment of Sharia law and Sharia courts in Texas?
Let me be blunt. Sharia law is organized crime, period. It is that simple. And that's why I want a division in the AG's office devoted to rooting out organized crime in Texas, because they don't think we deserve the right to exist as Americans or as Christians. And look at what they stand for. They say we're the infidel. Well, you know what? We got to have zero tolerance for that. And that is exactly what I will do in the AG's office. That's why I fought to change the law this session, make it a crime to enforce Sharia law. And not only that, prohibit them from owning property in Texas. The AG has express authority to investigate these liberal nonprofits like CARE and Muslim Brotherhood, and the list goes on. But not only that investigation, the tools to hold them accountable and prohibit them from buying land from out from underneath us. Our enemy entities like CARE and Muslim Brotherhood, those Sharia law, those Islamic apologists, frankly, at the end of the day, I will not allow them to buy our great state out from underneath us, and will hold them accountable like the organized crime that they are.
Mays, I've known you before you ran for office, and you decided to challenge a sitting incumbent Republican, ousted him, then announced a challenge to your sitting Republican state senator, who was one of the more liberal Republicans at the time. He ended up leaving instead of running against you. And some of these people don't know that. So how have you made decisions over the last several years on what positions, when you feel called to run for a certain position?
I've only gone where I think I can do the most for the conservative movement, because that's what this is about. That's what this calling is about. And, you know, I think of the composites in the basement, in the basement of the Capitol, got all those names on it, got all those faces on it. We will be forgotten. All that matters is that we leave it better than we found it. I have always been part of the grassroots movement. I was on the board of Texas Public Policy Foundation and Empower Texans Foundation before I ever ran for office, because what matters the most is putting our Christian conservative values into action. That is how we save our great state. That is how we save our nation. And from day one, I've been unafraid to take on incumbents that are not living up to their conservative promises. Because look, I am not here to be liked and loved by fellow politicians and lobbyists. I'm here to fight for the things that you believe in. The reason why you showed up tonight, which is to elect more conservatives to office and defeat the radical left.
Before we let you close, one more question for you. We've seen around the country, in Minnesota, we've seen similar things in San Antonio. We've seen bad actions in other parts of the state. What can the Attorney General do in terms of investigating the funding for these leftist protests, riots?
Well, sadly, you're paying for a lot of this, right? As we saw in Minnesota, these are those NGOs, those non-governmental organizations where they're cycling our tax dollars through waste and fraud and abuse. You know, we love cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, right? But what about holding those accountable that have committed the waste and the fraud and the abuse? And that is exactly what I will do in the Attorney General's office, because it happens in Texas. We have something called taxpayer-funded lobbying, right? That is the USAID of Texas, where your tax dollars are weaponized against you through NGOs to lobby things like border security, election integrity, school choice, parental rights, the Texas Women's Privacy Act. No more. Not on my watch. Zero tolerance for this, because they investigated, which that express authority is there in the AG's office, and held accountable and locked up. And I also think of one person in particular. Who paid for those No Kings rallies? Who paid for the riots in 2020? George Soros. On day one in office, I will investigate George Soros for the crimes that I believe he has committed against our great state.
If you don't mind, give 1 minute closing out, letting folks know why they should be hiring you as an attorney.
So there's a reason why I'm the only one in this AG's race that's been protested at the Texas Capitol. There's a reason why during this race they've threatened my life and my family's life, my wife's life. And the reason why that they're doing that is because the left knows who their true enemy is in this race. I'm the one that's already defeating them, already beating them, already vanquishing the woke mind virus, because that's what it really is. And because of that proven conservative record, that's why I've been endorsed by the leading grassroots groups you've got to have to win a statewide primary, like Texas Values, Texas Homeschool Coalition, Texas Eagle Forum, Moms for America, Texas Family Project, True Texas Project has endorsed me, Riley Gaines, David Barton, 51 Trump-endorsed legislators, a majority of our state Republican executive committee members. Look, I'm never retreating from Washington, D.C., because I'm never going to Washington, D.C. I have always known that the fight is here, and as a seventh-generation Texan, I was born here, and I'll be buried here. And I think of my 4 little ones. Macy and I are blessed with 3 boys, 1 little girl. They're my daily reminder of what we're fighting for here. And we don't have another Texas to move to. This is it, right here. This is the line in the sand. God bless you. God bless you for all you do for conservative values. I'm grateful for each of you for showing up to the fight, because you're the ones that show up to fight for our republic and our Christian values.
Thank you, Mace. And Chip Roy, come to the stage. Chip, can you tell people for a minute why you really have grown tired of being in Washington, D.C.?
Trying to blame me for Washington? It is great to be here. And, it's hard to put into words the extent to which I'm grateful for the support that each and every one of you have put in me to represent you in Washington. And I don't get to a lot of the forums and a lot of the political events and the campaign for Attorney General because I have a day job representing you guys. And we're in constant fight every single day. Over the last several weeks, this week in particular, been on the phone with the president, on the phone with the people in the White House, on the phone with my colleagues, trying to figure out how to manage what we're dealing with in Minneapolis, what we're dealing with nationwide, because you guys have to represent you. I'm going to fight all the way through the tape. We're called in 2 Timothy to finish the race. And I'm deeply blessed and honored to represent you all. And that's actually why I'm running for Attorney General.
I'll ask you the question that I asked the other two, Chip. The current Attorney General administration is standing with the Republican Party of Texas against the Democrats who want to infiltrate our primaries. Will your administration be siding with the Republican Party or the Democrats who want to vote and elect Republicans?
With Republicans.
You have another 48 seconds. Oh, okay.
It's not a hard question.
There has been, we've asked this to each of the candidates, a push for Islamification in Texas, Sharia courts, Sharia law being imposed. What can the Attorney General of Texas do to address that problem?
There's so many things. This would take a multi-hour seminar basically to deal with the extent to which the Islamification of Texas is the number one issue you all should be concerned about. The last conversation I had with Charlie Kirk was about this issue. He'd given a speech in London. I'd given a speech on the House floor. We talked about why it was important to try to energize the people of this country, the people of Texas, to fight to stop the Islamification of our country. And I got to tell you, it's one of the key reasons, if not the key reason, that I'm running for Attorney General. I could keep being your congressman, and I'd be honored to do so. But God gave me a certain moment in time, and His blessing as a former federal prosecutor, as the former first assistant attorney general, to fight for you guys as your attorney general, to defend the laws and defend the people of this state. If we don't stop the Islamification of Texas, there is no Texas. That's the short answer. I'm going to hold hearings. I've introduced legislation. That's all congressional stuff. As your attorney general, I'll fight to defend the state of Texas against the Islamification of the state.
What would your approach be to deal with the Soros DA problem we have in the large counties in Texas?
So this is a bigger issue. And I was on TPUSA today. I was on Charlie Kirk's podcast talking about Minneapolis. My good friend Tom Homan, the president is right to send him to Minneapolis to go deal with this issue. We need to deal with it immediately. But, you know, like the fact of the matter is, like, people don't understand the war that we're facing. You can't win a war if you don't acknowledge that it exists. We're at war. Like, I could keep doing what I'm doing. We're all going to come and go. We're all going to be gone in 30, 40 years. Everybody in this room, right? And the question is, what are we leaving behind for our kids and our grandkids? What are you willing to leave on the field to fight, to save for our kids and our grandkids? That's the whole fight. That's everything. And so whether it's Islamification, whether it's the Soros DAs, look, you want to go after them? Go after them. We can pass Texas laws. But you got to be willing to stand up and stop them and stop the flow of the money, the NGOs, the leftist organization, the Marxists that want to take your life away and want to kill you. Because that's what's happening.
There's been we've had a pretty good run the last year with illegal immigration, seeing the numbers decline. Donald Trump will not continue to be the president of the United States. There's a possibility a Democrat gets elected. What can the Attorney General's office be doing over the next 2 years during the Trump administration to secure Texas' border?
I mean, this is one of the most important questions that we can ask. This president, this administration is stopping the flow across the border. That's awesome, but it's temporary. Like, we had a secure border in 2020. And now what do we deal with under Biden and Mayorkas? Massive open borders, the exploitation of our laws, the exploitation of parole, the exploitation of asylum. So we need in Congress to fix those. We need to change those. We're fighting for that right now. I'm at the center of fighting for H.R. 2 and the stronger border security laws. But the Attorney General of Texas needs to lead forward into the issue of invasion. My friends at the Citizens for Renewing America have laid out the case for invasion. I support that. I think we should declare invasion in a way that we haven't to this point. I think we should have been earlier in doing that. And honestly, at the end of the day, we worry about all the intricacies of law here. The fact of the matter is we're a sovereign state of sovereign people who have a border that we need to defend. And we must stand up as Texans to defend that border, regardless of who's in the White House. We can't depend on a President Trump. We have to secure our state.
Chip, why don't you just take one more minute to tell these people why you'd like them to vote for you in March?
Look, you guys know me. I've tried to fight for you in every single way I know, whether it was through the floods last summer, whether it's been in Washington fighting for secure borders to limit spending, to secure our country. The fact of the matter is you want somebody in the office of the Attorney General who has actually held elective office. I have. Who has actually been an attorney in the courtroom. I have, as an assistant United States attorney and as the first assistant attorney general. And as somebody who is unapologetically and obviously conservative. I've got the strongest track record of anybody in this race with a strong voting record in defense of you.
It matters that you have an election certificate. It matters that you put your name out there. And whether you agree with me on every decision or not, it matters that you believe that I'm fighting for you with every ounce of my being. That when I had cancer 14 years ago and I survived Hodgkin's lymphoma, that God gave me more time on this planet, that I would use that time on this planet to fight for you. And that is my promise to you. God bless.
Thank you, Chip. We are going to Mrs. Hall. Am I now allowed to bring up the can? We're going to line them all up, correct?
Oh, yeah. So as the chairs are being set up for CD 21, Mr. Roy, of course, is the outgoing member of Congress, CD 21. Got a year left. You're still outgoing. You're gone. You're done. Yeah. Set the stage, if you will, for CD 21, for the race, why it's important, and what you are and are not doing relative to CD 21.
Well, first of all, thanks, Michael. I really appreciate it. And, look, thanks, Terry. Thanks for hosting this. And thanks for lending your daughter to my staff. I'm deeply appreciative. Look, I have not put my finger on the scale of the Texas 21 race because this seat belongs to you. People ask me and they say, like, well, this is, your seat. It's not. It's your seat. I have been honored to represent you. You hired me to represent you. That's what I want you to think about with everybody on this stage. Who are you hiring to represent you in Washington? Will they join the Freedom Caucus? Will they stand up and defend you, no matter what arrows get thrown at them? Will they stand in defense of the Constitution? Let me give you one example. This last week, there's been a lot of conversation, including some of my friends in the administration, about what happened in Minneapolis. And we all have our strong beliefs about what's going on. Waltz, all the leftists, what they're doing in Minneapolis, it's upending the whole situation, endangering ICE, putting our men and women in uniform in danger. But some people said, well, gun, that's a justified shooting. No, it's not. Okay? No, it's not. If you show up to that event with a gun and you're interfering with law enforcement, you've got a problem because you interfere with law enforcement. But the fact that you're carrying a weapon, you and I have fought for that Second Amendment right. So my point of bringing that up is, for all the people on the stage, are they going to focus on the Constitution? Are they going to focus on you? Are they going to focus on standing up for you? Floods are happening last summer. Are they going to go to Washington and stand up in defense of everything we believe in limited government, the Constitution, in God, in a secure border, and not care about their political well-being? The first thing I did when I was chosen by you all was not to go there and hire a fundraiser. It wasn't to go there and talk to all the political class. It was to figure out how to fight for you. And that's why I joined the Freedom Caucus. We need people who are going to stand up and defend us because there is a war raging against our way of life. The Islamification of Texas, the undermining of our security, the open borders, all of that stuff, you need representatives who are going to fight for you. And so I say all of that totally objectively without putting my finger on the scale at all about any individual here. One of these people is going to represent me. And I want someone who's going to fight for me and isn't going to fight for an election certificate. That's the difference. God bless you.
Thank you, Chip. Can we get the candidates for CD 21 to come and take a seat? And then I'm also going to tell y'all, just in case you see any of these guys running for statewide office, I told them all that they should leave because they have long drives, some of them of 3, 4, 5 hours ahead of them. So if any of them get up and leave, don't be offended. They came here, they tried to earn your vote, but I did want to just give them the clearance to take the trip. Find a seat. Do we have enough seats up here for everybody?
We'll start to use it.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, here's what we're going to do. We have a lot of questions. Some of them we're going to give you all a minute to answer. I am going to give you all a minute to introduce yourselves. But when we get to the questions, I have a couple questions at the front end that we're going to do some quick yes or no, very easy questions. And then let's start with Mr. Cahill and go down the line. 1 minute. Why are you running?
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Cahill, running for Congressional District 21. I'm a veteran of the global war on terrorism. I'm a father to 4 young children, and I'm the owner and CEO of an oil and gas exploration company that I built from the ground up. The reason I'm standing in front of you here tonight is because of those 4 young children. I was the first one deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq as one of the intelligence assets, first intelligence asset deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq when the towers went down. My fight for this hill country did not start when Chip Roy announced his retirement. It started when the towers went down. When I came home, I built an oil and gas exploration company from the ground up without ever going into debt. I've never had a single business line of credit, and I built an exploration company. And the reason I'm here in front of you is because all of that, all those trials and tribulations, I'm terrified. I am terrified of a future 20 years from now where my 7-year-old girl looks back at me and says, Dad, why didn't you do something? I'm not okay with a world with $38 trillion in debt. I'm not okay with a world that wants to put my boy in a dress. I'm not okay with a world that wants to put my daughter in a burqa. And I'm here to fight against it. I'm Jason Cahill.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to tell y'all, with some of these statewides, we let them go 5-10 seconds over sometimes, but that's going to add up a lot for all of you. So please, when Mr. Hall here holds up that stop now, stop as quick as you can. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Wheeler, running for Congressional District 21. My history, a finance professional. I traded bonds for a living, but that's why President Trump appointed me as a senior advisor to the Small Business Administration. But I want to answer Chip's question. How I'm going to fight for you? I got an example because I have an announcement to make. I think it's going to make everybody pretty happy in this room. Has anybody heard of the battery energy storage systems and the transmission lines going through the hill country? Well, we got a victory today. We got a victory in Kendall County today. I was the only county chair in all of Texas that passed a resolution against battery energy storage. It passed, and we took it all the way to the Republican Party and passed it. Well, guess what? East Point Energy has pulled out of Kendall County today. They're gone. Yeah. That's how I'm going to fight for you, Chip. I'll continue, and I will bring that to Washington. I will fight for many other issues, but I think it's very important to answer that question. I need to give you an example. It's not just me. This was a group effort. This was a team effort. But I went to countless courts, countless meetings, and I pounded on many doors in Austin. So please vote for me. I'm trying to earn your vote. Mike Wheeler. Thank you very much.
Howdy, everybody. My name is Trey Trainer. I'm running for Congressional District 21. For the past 5.5 years, I've been President Trump's appointee on the Federal Election Commission. Before that, I worked for him over at the Pentagon as an appointee over there. 2016, I worked with the president in Cleveland as part of his team at the convention, and I worked on the recount there. I want to represent you as your next congressman because we need leadership like Chip Roy has given us in Washington, D.C., and I want to be that person. And tonight, I hope to explain the experience that I have and how I can serve you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Rojas. I am an engineer, a firearms manufacturer, so the Second Amendment is in my DNA. It's not a hobby. It's not a weekend activity. I worked for big tech for 15 years, so I understand AI. I understand data centers. I understand that we talk about Islamification. A backdoor into that is the H-1B visa system. Give you a little idea, Microsoft brought in between 2015 and 2025, 75,000 H-1Bs. That's roughly 60% of the company. That's not Amazon. That's not Google, which they're all guilty of it. I hope to earn your vote, and you understand that we need engineers and small business owners and younger folks in Congress. Thank you.
Howdy, y'all. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Zeke Enriquez, and I'm running for Congressional District 21. My roots in this district go back 7 generations. I was born and raised in San Marcos. After high school, I joined the United States Marine Corps, served as a heavy machine gunner, did 1 tour in Iraq, where I was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal of V-Device for combat valor for my heroic actions. After I hung up that uniform, I didn't stop serving. I became a firefighter. I've been doing that for the last 11 years, 5 years on the northwest side of Houston. I'm on my 6th year with Bandera Fire. Now we're ranching down in Bandera. I'm married to my beautiful wife, 15 years. We're raising 2 children, homeschool them with the Beck Academy Christian program. And I am running, 1, because I feel a calling from the Lord and I'm being obedient, win or lose. So that's why I'm here. I'd like to earn your vote. I'll tell you the first thing I'll do when I get to Washington is codify President Trump's executive order. The second thing is going to be bringing forward Chip Roy's legislation. We'll touch more at the end. Thank you for your time.
Y'all are doing a great job. Let's keep it going.
Howdy, y'all. Daniel Betts. I think I know most of y'all have at least met you 1 or 2 times, been out here a bunch.
And so I won't give you my regular stump, but I wanted to share with you, for those of you who haven't heard, a piece of my heart and why I am running for this position. I'm blessed to have 3 young boys that my wife Piper and I homeschool out in Dripping Springs, and I read the Bible to them every night. And we've been reading chapter by chapter through from Genesis, and I know we've been doing it for a couple of years because we got to Jonah on the day that Chip announced that he was running for Attorney General. And after doing that prayer and discernment and talking to my wife and hoping that she would say, no, you can't do that, she said, you have to do that. And when I got to thinking about it, it really felt like that was God telling me, like, hey, Jonah had a calling and he tried to run away from it. What are you going to do? And some people talk about Washington like Sodom and Gomorrah, but I prefer Nineveh because I think that our ideas as conservatives can change that place. And Nineveh repented. It's sackcloth and ashes all the way up to the king. And I believe that when we are done with this fight, that we are going to win back our country. Daniel Betts, take a bet on Betts. It'll pay out big. Thank you.
Look, I remember walking the halls of a hospital and seeing patients die alone. During the Biden administration, I saw exactly what the federal government can do to the American people. You see, when you allow the government to break a law during an emergency, they will always create an emergency to break the law. My name is Kyle Sinclair. I'm a healthcare executive, Army veteran, and small business owner. I am the only healthcare executive in the state of Texas that is running for U.S. Congress. Anybody know why the government shut down in December? What was the single issue? Healthcare. Anybody know what's about to happen in January 31st? Because it's now in the Senate. We had 17 Republicans break rank and gave $80.6 billion subsidies to insurance companies. It's probably not going to pass the Senate. Government's going to shut down again. And if it does pass, President Trump said he's going to veto it. Look, President Trump just put out his plan last week. This is the first time in 15 years we have a chance to actually fix healthcare. A vote for Kyle is not just a vote for Kyle. A vote for Kyle is to put your healthcare needs as number one. Kyle for Texas. Thanks so much.
Okay, so we're going to start. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Cahill. We're going to start with Mr. Cahill here, and we're going to ask a couple quick yes or no questions, okay? And on one of them, I'm going to give you all a chance to actually respond a little bit if you answer wrong, but I'll explain that one in a second. But the first one is just a yes or no. Chip mentioned it here. If you're elected, will you join the Freedom Caucus, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Of course. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, if they'll have me.
Man, it would have been great if Kyle had just said no at the end to like drop mic. Okay, just now we'll start with Kyle. Okay. Kyle, and then we'll go back to the other side. Have you ever voted in a Democrat primary? Now, if your answer is yes, we're going to give you 10 seconds to explain yourself. Okay, so have you ever voted in a Democrat primary, yes or no?
No.
Yes, I used to live in Austin, and I wanted to have the least liberal candidate, and there were no Republicans running.
No.
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 Yes. I come from a FDR baby background, raised a Democrat. I voted, I believe it was for Bill Clinton in a primary because I didn't know any better.
No. Next question is, did you vote in the Republican primary when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, 2020, and 2024?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
6-time Trump voter.
Yes, and I was the only
Well,
elected.
just yes or no, Kyle.
I said
can't-
yes.
We can't give everybody. You already did that
I'm the only
last time.
presidential elector that's sitting on the stage.
No,
so
no, yes or no. Okay, we got yes or no. That was a great done. I already let you do another sentence that last time. Okay, so Michael has a question for y'all.
Okay, we'll just start on that and work this way that way now that we've lost control. Which of the Trump policies do you not agree with?
Am I on the clock right now? Yeah,
You're
my
on the
answer
clock,
is
yeah.
none right now that I know of. There's absolutely nothing that I cannot say I don't support. The tariffs, I think, is a huge thing. Reciprocal tariffs. I love what is going on with this country, supporting many factors of this nation. So my answer is I don't have any right now to date that I'm watching. There's one that I'm watching closely, which is the race of AI and keeping it at the federal level for 10 years versus giving it to the state. That's the one I'm watching. but everything else right now so far I support.
The 50-year mortgage.
Yeah, I would agree with 50-year mortgage and then his waffling on H-1B visas. I think at the very least we need a moratorium until we get our house in order.
Cozying up to the tech industry, the H-1B visas, tech will turn on us the minute there's not a Republican in office. We saw it when the 2020 primaries. We saw it during 2016. It'll happen again. I've lived it. I've seen it. I know how they think. I know how to beat them.
Is failure to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota after the first round of the riots.
I don't agree with sending y'all $2,000 checks from the tariffs. I don't believe it's the right thing to do. I think it's only going to spark more inflation.
$1.8 trillion in deficit spending.
What this is literally whoever wrote this, one of my favorite questions, speaks to my horrible part. How will we know you will not turn into a Dan Crenshaw when you get off the plane? When you get off the plane in Washington D.C. And again, whoever wrote that question, I love you. Yeah.
I feel like that one might have been directed at me. Truth is don't know. What you have to do is you have to look each one of us in the eye and feel and understand who we are, the integrity, how it's going to take to do what's right, even when it's unpopular. You have to find out who this individual is that's going to represent you, and you're not going to be able to figure that out in a 30-second stump speech.
I'm going to make a pledge to you right now. You will get it in writing. I will not take a dime from the insurance lobbies. I will not take a dime from big pharma. I will not take a dime from big tech. I will not trade a stock while I am in Congress. I will put all my money in a blind trust. It will have nothing to do with it. I will set my own term limit of no more than 8 to 10 years. This is supposed to be a job. It's supposed to be a service. It's not supposed to be a career path.
So for politicians, the best indicator of their future performance is their past performance. And I said for the past 5.5 years, I have spent my time in Washington, D.C., fighting for the First Amendment, fighting for you, and I have not turned into a creature of the swamp. In fact, I have fired employees who are creatures of the swamp. I was sent to the Department of Defense to get rid of Obama holdovers who were there. And the reason that I was so late getting into this race is because I'm the only candidate who has led a DOJ process at a federal agency to get rid of people. And so at the end of the day, that is what I have done. I have represented you in Washington, D.C., and I have not become part of Washington, D.C. My kids hate it that I leave to go to Washington, D.C. for a week at a time, and I don't see them, and I come back home. But the fact of the matter is I'm not moving my family to Washington, D.C., and I'm not going to become a creature of the swamp. Thank you.
So I routinely troll Dan Crenshaw on Twitter. I'm probably one of his most hated folks on there. I usually get 25, 30,000 views on what I call him out on. I'm very open on who I am. I've called out big tech. I've called out the president on the H-1B stuff. I'm one that if I stick to my guns and I call it, that's what I'm going to be. And so you can believe that.
I would say, number one is I'll never forget that like Michael said and like Chip touched on, you guys are hiring one of us. I expect you. Well, one, I expect to work for you. Two, I expect you to hold me accountable for every single vote I make. When I'm in DC, I plan to put forth simply written legislation, one page, single subject, so you guys see exactly where I'm going to vote. And when I come back here, I want you guys to hold me accountable to those votes. Number two, if you don't believe me, my wife is over there, and you can ask her about my principles. I see black and white. There is no gray for me. That I'm just, my moral compass and my faith keep me grounded. So that's how.
Daniel Betts. I think this is a fundamental problem with Republicans who go to Washington. We are small government. If we're conservative, truly, we're small government, and then we go to be part of the government. And I think that there's no way to go to Washington and not be changed by that place. And so I think that that's why term limits are so important. And so I am willing to go to that place and to get that nastiness on me for you, but you got to get rid of me. You got to get rid of me after a good bit. And I want you to look over there at that beautiful blonde lady in the front row. and that little guy who's chewing on her phone there. That is why, and that's Wally, and you should meet him. And my two older boys who are just 8 and 5, little guys that I want to be there for their part of their childhood, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice for you. But when I'm forced to decide between the party or CD21, they are how you know I am always going to choose you. What are they going to do? Primary me, and I get to go home to my kids? Done. Daniel Betts.
Kyle Sinclair, what I say the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. The best example I can give is we just went through the deadliest floods in Texas history where we still have 2 people missing. What did you do? On day 3, I joined a veteran group, a chainsaw crew, cadaver dog team, and did search and recovery. 3 days in, I didn't run home. I ran towards it to serve, to be other people, in front of people. That's the best predictor to not be a Dan Crenshaw, right? Too many people going to Washington to serve their coworkers than they do their constituents. So that's what you have to do. I fought human trafficking, fought TDA gang, voter harvesting organizations. You fight the issues, you stand the fight, and you become the face of it to represent the people. Kyle from Congress.
We're going to do a quick yes or no, starting with Kyle, coming down to Jason. Do you support term limits for members of Congress, yes or no?
Yes.
No explanation.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Hell yes.
I still think it would be great if Jason just said no, because it would just all those it'd be way better. But okay. So we don't have a lot of time in formats like this to be super substantive. So here's my question that I want each of y'all to take a minute to answer. What is one thing you want to work on as an individual congressman, a policy, an issue? Just take a minute to explain to people one issue. It can be different for all of you, I'm assuming. But what is the one issue that you want to spend most of your energy working on as an individual congressman in the halls of Congress?
Jason Cahill, the one issue is the issue that affects everything, and that's our crippling debt. That is the entire job of Congress, is to pass legislation and to manage the budget. That's the whole point of them being there. And as a CEO, I balanced that 1.8 trillion deficit in 48 hours. I have it in my book. It's definitely not going to happen in a minute. But we need to have people that actually have solutions. It's one thing to stand up here and give you Wizard of Oz promises. It's another thing to actually have belief in the person that can actually get things done and that has true solutions. That's what we have to tackle. And that is the biggest issue, because that is going to be crippling debt to our children, to our grandchildren. That is how we lose control of the United States. What happens when our debt payments are higher than our GDP? At what point do we say stop? Is it 50 trillion? Is it 100 trillion? We have to have people there that actually know how to manage money, balance budgets. I'm Jason Cahill. Thank you.
Copycat. Mine's the national debt. It's because of my history in bond trading. That's what I did. I got paid to study bonds. Real exciting, right? Well, it taught me a lot of information how to go to Washington and fight this debt. We're still going to lose our country. I'm going to vote for the SAVE Act. I'm going to vote for the PAUSE Act, but we can still lose our country. It's because of our debt. 25% of our tax receipts are going to go to interest. 75% goes to mandatory spending. That's 100%. That means we have to cut defense. We have to cut everything if we don't start taking care of this interest. I have solutions. You know what it's going to be? We are going to go and we're going to start leveraging United States assets. We do nothing about those assets right now. We get a 0.001% return on our assets in this country. That's pathetic. That's because we're not sending business people to Washington. Please send business people to Washington who can leverage those assets, make money off of those assets, and use it to retire the debt. That can be done. I can do it. Mike Wheeler, thank you very much.
So it doesn't matter what my personal agenda is and what I want to work on. The Constitution tells us that Congress is to protect the country and provide for our liberties. And I've talked here in Kerrville before about our liberties, but Chip touched on it earlier. We have got to fight Sharia law at every single step that we possibly can. We have to pause illegal immigrants coming into the country. We have to pause legal immigrants coming into the country. We have to stop the invasion of our country, and we have to stop our own laws being used against us. And that's what's happening. People want to couch Sharia law as a First Amendment right. It is not. I have spent my entire career, over 2 decades, defending the First Amendment, and I can tell you that Sharia law is not a First Amendment right. It is plain and simple anti-Western civilization. And my job as a congressman is not to do something that I want to do, but to do what you, the people in the Constitution, told me to do, and that is to protect the country. Trey Trainer.
So with DOJ, all the budget cuts, it's been overruled by judges. And so the first thing I want to do is judicial tyranny, ensuring that the federal judges cannot put their thumb on the scale and fight and overrule President Trump, overrule Congress, and everything that you, the voters, said we want to get done. So we need to figure out who's connected to Soros, who's connected to Bill Gates, and who's connected to Democrat dark money. Thank you.
So for me, it's going to be, I think the number one threat to this country domestically is our national debt. And along those lines, affordability. So that'd be my fight in Congress for you guys. What that means in this district is making housing affordable for the younger generations, healthcare affordable for the older generations. And we all feel it at the grocery store, just across the board. How we do that is we tackle the national debt. We make the DOJ cuts permanent, cut all the fraud, the waste, the abuse, and put that money back in your pocket. Thank you.
Daniel Betts, I do agree with Zeke that affordability is the primary issue in this election, and it will continue to be the primary issue for us and are stretching our dollars until we solve it. But what I don't believe is that more government is the solution. I believe that your dollars should stay in your pocket when you earn them. I don't believe that the government has any right to take them via the income tax, and I believe that things started to get off the rails with the 16th Amendment. I intend to repeal the income tax, to get rid of it and replace it with a consumption tax so that you only pay when you decide to be involved in the economy. New goods, not goods at the grocery store, not food at the grocery store, but new goods. So it's going to mean that everyone pays their fair share. The rich are consumptive. They're going to consume. And so for liberals who don't want this to not happen, well, this is going to make sure that that happens. Moving to a consumption model will also give us a pure economic signal that will allow us to remove the Fed from the picture. So it's a great solution. Daniel Betts.
Kyle Sinclair, and I would definitely say healthcare. Look, President Trump, I was playing last week, in of his statement, he said, I implore Congress to act now to get it passed. Nobody can. That's why it shut down government in December. That's why it's going to shut down in January. It is very complicated. And everybody on this stage is going to have hire healthcare lobbyists to teach them about healthcare. Healthcare is never the number one subject. Border, crime, economy, affordability, issues in Minnesota. We never put our own healthcare. Look, we come into this world touching healthcare. We touch it all through our lives, and we leave this world touching healthcare. And it doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, you're poor, you're rich, north, south, it doesn't matter. We all need to focus on that and fix it. This is the first time in 15 years that we actually can appeal and get rid of the Unaffordable Care Act from the Obamacare and put healthcare number one. Kyle for Congress.
As a slightly uncomfortable reality check, whoever the next member of Congress is from CD 21 will be the lowest ranking member of the gang of 535. It will be that individual will be the lowest in seniority of the 435 members of the United States House. You will be among the lowest in seniority in the Republican caucus. With that said, the Republican caucus, where many rules are implemented, assuming the Republicans maintain control, the running of the U.S. House, where we have seen the reemergence of earmarks, designating certain dollars, even the lowest ranked members get to put in earmarks. What is your position on earmarks, and what will you do in regards to that position should you be elected to the United States House of Representatives? Start with you, sir.
I would say I cannot stand the omnibus spending bill and the earmarks and everything that goes in it. We've got to stop that. And single bill issues with funding for it, how you fix that problem across the board. There's no way around it. Now, is it going to be passed as a low-ranking member of the 535 and 435 members of the U.S. House? Probably not. But I will tell you, I will fight and I will represent that. We've got to fix our debt. We're $38 trillion in debt, $2 trillion deficit, with $1 trillion in interest every single year. That's more than we spend in the national defense right now. We've got to fix our problem. We are a broke nation and we are failing fast. Now, what I will say in support of President Trump is what he is doing is the first time in my lifetime is continuing to make sure America is the dominant superpower, securing the Western Hemisphere and bringing everything back to America. And that's how you do it. Iowa for Congress.
Daniel Betts, I am completely against earmarks and pork of any kind. Any true conservative is not for them. And it's very easy and expedient for someone who wants to continue to be in office to try to give you things so that you will have them. And Alexis de Tocqueville talks about this. He says, when the majority realizes that they can vote themselves the largesse of the government, democracy is dead. He doesn't mean democracy in the sense of we are a republic, absolutely. But that is the way to the bottom. I won't be part of that. Can I get all these other legislators to do that as a freshman? I hope I can lead by example. But one thing that I will be able to do in a tightly divided Congress is to put pressure on the speaker to, like Kyle said, have single issue bills, because that's where pork goes to die. It is in these omnibus bills where the problem lies. And I do agree with Mr. Sinclair on that. Daniel Betts.
So I carry one of Thomas Massey's step badges with me. You see these numbers, it's $38 trillion and climbing. I turn this on every morning and it almost makes you physically sick when you look at it. I am 100% against earmarks. And as a low-ranking member of Congress, yeah, there's not so much I can do about it, right? But we can push single subject bills, hold these legislators accountable to their constituents when they get home. I also fight to push for a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution to get us back in line and stop bankrupting our future generations. Thank you.
So it's simple. In the product world, which I was at in private industry, it's called gold plating, essentially adding crap that's not needed to make it look better. And that's what earmarks are. Is it just crap that you add for favors? It goes back to also endorsements. So look at each and every one of the candidates that are here. Ask us which endorsements we got, which ones were paid for, which ones are bought, because those are the favors that you're going to owe as a congressman if you're elected. Thank you.
So the answer to the question is I'm opposed to every earmark, but Michael really asked more of an inside baseball question. And that is, what are you going to do to be a leader in Congress? And I think that's what I mentioned at the beginning is, what are you going to do to show leadership when you get there? Chip talked about some of the successes that he's had. He's had those successes because he understands the procedures, and procedure is often more important than substance. When I get to Washington, D.C., the first thing I'm going to do is there are going to be 9 new Republican freshmen who are going to be there. I'm going to organize with those Republicans from Texas, and I'm going to talk to them about what we can do to control the process. I'm going to work intimately with them to try to get on what is known as the steering committee, to be the freshman representative on the steering committee and work through that, where Texas has a lot of influence on there. And that's how you influence the policies and procedures of who's elected the speaker and who gets committee assignments, is by working through that process. And it takes somebody who knows how to grab those reins and take that lead, somebody who's been there and understands what's going on. Thank you.
Yeah, I am complete, as you can tell, I'm a debt hawk, and we're losing Chip, we're losing Andy Biggs, we're losing David Schweikert. 3 big debt hawks. We need to send more debt hawks to Washington. I'm against earmarks. I'm against anything that adds to the debt without passing something that takes away from it as well. Okay. So, but you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to be sneaky too. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for funding for water in the Texas Hill Country. How do we get water from where there is water to where there isn't water? That does need to be fight for. I will not give up on that. All right. How am I going to fight? I'm going to fight for funding for Fort Sam Houston in Bexar County. I know that may not think that affects us that much out here, but it does. Washington's trying to take Fort Sam away from us and move it to other areas. And the big thing I'm going to sneak in there, we are going to cut subsidies to all battery energy storage systems in the Hill Country. That subsidy will be under my watch. Thank you very much.
Vehemently against subsidies, earmarks, spending across the board. Now, how are you effective on day one in Washington? Disagree with the junior part. Yes, you're the least senior, but how many people have been in Washington for decades and can't get anything done? Same thing. Well, as an intelligence specialist, I'm used to running sources. I figure out what people like, what they're scared of, where they serve their constituents or they serve themselves. And I manipulate those personalities just like you would in an intelligence community. As a CEO, I have to navigate personalities every single day. And every one of those personalities are coming after me to screw me out of my money. Sounds like exactly what I want to do to you. So you can be effective on day one and being the junior person by simply managing people. You have to get people to like you in order to move forward. You are 1/35th of one half, 1/3 of the government. That's how you're effective. Thank you.
We're going to start with Mr. Cahill and go down. And what we're going to do, guys, is that we've decided we're going to let you make your closing statement, 1 minute. We're going to end 15 to 20 minutes early because there's a ton of great questions, and a lot of y'all have written them. They're all over the map. Y'all have time to actually talk to these guys one-on-one, ask them some more of these detailed questions where they can answer beyond that, 30-second answer. So I know y'all have other questions you want to ask. These guys are here to earn your votes. So we're going to wrap about 15 to 20 minutes early. So what we're going to do, Jason, we're going to start with you. Give a minute of why people should vote for you.
First and foremost, thank you for coming and staying through the end of the gauntlet. My life experiences have given me a very unique perspective. As a veteran, I understand what sacrifice, service, and dedication mean. And I bring that same discipline to public service. As a CEO, I understand how to solve complex problems, manage resources, and deliver results, not promises, not rhetoric. Because in my field, you actually have to perform or you're done. And as a family man, I have the strategic understanding of integrity and compassion. And I know that the decisions that we make today, they affect our children and they affect your grandchildren. As I said, it's impossible to get to know us right here in these 1 minute. But I hope you look in my eyes and see the sincerity when I tell you, I won't fail you. I can't. It's not in my DNA. Thank you.
60% of our kids under 30 years old are accepting socialism right now. Socialism, the reason why it's happening? It's affordability. It's because they can't afford a home, so they're throwing up their arms and saying, you know what, I give up. If I can't have it, nobody can have it. So how are we going to reform that? We're going to start holding universities accountable for the degrees that they hand out. It's no longer going to be you and me, the taxpayer, that's going to be accountable for when a gender studies degree cannot actually afford to pay back its debt. That has to stop. The university is going to be responsible for that one. Okay? Does everybody agree with that? All right, good. What we're going to do for our youth, though, we're also, when you come out of high school, remember your guidance counselor? Everything's going to be made transparent for you. You're going to pick art history. This is how much you're going to make when you get out of college. This is how much your debt's going to be. This is your rent. This is your car payment. You're going to see up front, transparent, how bad it's going to look for you. Okay? We're going to push people towards the vocational education, welding, plumbing, HVAC. We can change it. We can change the spread of socialism if we start taking care of our youth. Thank you.
To slip the surly bonds of earth and touch the face of God. Those are the words of Ronald Reagan 40 years ago tomorrow when the Challenger exploded, something that I watched sitting in a classroom in Arlington, Texas. And what he did that night was showed leadership. He showed up on TV. What you've seen here tonight is individuals who are willing to show up, who are applying for a job from you. There are candidates that are not here. Weston is here, but there are candidates who are not here who want you to vote for them. And at the end of the day, you cannot have somebody who's unwilling to show up. When those floods happened on July 4th, Chip Roy showed up. You need somebody who's going to show up for you. I want to be that person to show up for you. I'm here to apply for this job. I want to be the person to represent you. Dre Trainer, appreciate it.
As I mentioned in my opening, I'm 38. President Trump picked J.D. Vance because he realized something. We need someone that can communicate and the youth can look towards. I hope I'm one of those people. I jumped into this race after Charlie was shot because I realized, him being only a couple of years younger than me, we need folks that are small business owners, engineers, scientists. We don't need no more politicians. We don't need any lawyers. We have enough. I looked it up right before I got up here. There's 3 engineers in Congress. I would be the 4th. Think about that for a second. We need more folks that understand AI, data centers, H-1Bs, all the abuses the tech companies are doing, because they are going to be the ones that slowly change our country, and we don't realize it yet. If you bank with USAA, 80% of those jobs are going over to India by 2030. Yep. And that's not that. Greg Abbott talked about it today. I added it up. 5,000 between UT Austin, Texas A&M, and a couple other companies are H-1B employers. 5,000 employees. Those jobs should be going to Texans and Americans. We have to stop that now. Thank you.
Thank you. Why me? I say I've got a proven record of service from my time in the Marine Corps to the firehouse. I pledge to serve you and answer you. You know, Chip has a great policy, open door. He'll answer a phone call, let you walk in. He's great about that. I plan to continue that. As soon as I'm elected, and he's leaving some big boots to fill, by the way, and I'm ready to step into them. So as soon as I'm elected, I'm ready to codify President Trump's executive orders, make the DOGE cuts permanent. On the Second Amendment, I pledge to not only defend it, but restore it. I've been endorsed by Texas Gun Rights and Brandon Herrera. Abortion, I'm an abolitionist. I believe in protecting the sanctity of life. For our veterans, I've walked in those boots. You know, I'll make sure your VA hospitals deliver, not delay. Again, I thank you all for your time tonight. God bless y'all. God bless Texas, and God bless America.
Daniel Betts, I want to address the elephant in the room, or I should say the not elephant not in the room, Mark Teixeira. We cannot not acknowledge that he is in this race and that he is spending $2 million of his own money. But I think we should ask ourselves why. He doesn't live here. He's never voted in a Republican primary. And I was sitting the other day and I was watching the John Adams miniseries with my wife because I'm a lawyer agrarian just like him. And I was thinking, when did the Revolutionary War end? Was it at Yorktown? And I think that spirit, that revolutionary spirit, is in all of us as Americans. And I think that there's a place that it lives, and it's here in the Hill Country. And I think that there's a reason that Chip Roy, we elected him and sent him to Congress. And I think that there's also a reason that after we inflicted him upon those rhinos in Congress, that they want to get back at us. And so they are trying to inflict Mark Teixeira upon you. Don't let them. The thing that they don't know that I know and that you know is that Ty-V fight never dies. I am that fighter. Bet on Daniel Betts. It will pay out big. Thank you.
How many of you like Peterson Healthcare? Okay. Yeah. Did anybody know what President Trump passed last month? A $50 billion rural healthcare bill, the largest in U.S. history. I'm the only candidate that can help bring that funding and understand the impact that it has to every single person, regardless of your Republican or Democrat. Look, I have 3 issues, very simple, that I put in a white paper sent to President Trump. Number 1, any individual who's paying healthcare premiums get to write those off in taxes. You pay $10,000, write it off immediately. Number 2, small businesses, number 1 employer in the United States, get to also write that off in their taxes. You will see overnight millions of Americans get health insurance overnight, immediately. And number 3, no American should ever go bankrupt due to health issues or medical death. That should be backed by a catastrophic medical plan by the U.S. government. That's the only plan I will fight for. We need to fight for health care. Kyle Sinclair for Texas.
Let's give a nice applause to all of our candidates this evening who took time to answer questions. And now you have the opportunity to mob each one of these nice individuals, ask them all sorts of uncomfortable questions. Let me remind you, number 1, your job is not to hire your new bestest bosom buddy. Your job is not to look at someone, how shiny are their boots or how nicely tied is their tie. Your job is to hire someone who is going to protect liberty in our nation, who's going to protect liberty in the Lone Star. I encourage you, me, us to encourage each other to take seriously that responsibility. You've heard from a lot of folks this evening, and after a while, they all look alike, they all sound alike, which is why we at Texas Scorecard, we're glad to live stream this event this evening, and it's recorded, so you can go back and watch it on YouTube and the platforms. You can go back through and find out what did that crazy guy actually say that I thought he said. You'll have that opportunity to do so. So please check out the work of Texas Scorecard. I would like to thank our amazing Terry and Smith. There she is over there. They and their teams for putting on tonight's event. Ladies, thank you both very much. And
just a reminder real quick, early voting starts in mid-February, and I'm going to, in 1 minute, tell all of you how to vote more than once legally, right? But this is a really important thing to know, and I think every one of you should do it because a lot of you did it last time, and it worked really well because there are so many people in your community that don't even know there's election happening. So here's how you're going to do it. You're going to vote on the first day of early voting. Okay? You're going to go in and cast your ballot. You're going to post online, I voted in the Republican primary. I did a lot of research. I went and heard candidates at local forums. I am informed as to who is running, who I'm supporting. If you want to know, let me know. I promise you, you will get at least one person that will reach out to you, and they will ask a question. And the question will be, there's an election going on? That's their number one question you'll get. And so what you're going to then tell that person, if you're me, is you're going to say, yes, and I have a list of all the candidates. Would you like it? I can even tell you where to vote. Now, my rule is you have to vote my list if I'm going to give it to you because you didn't even know there was an election going on. So I don't trust your judgment. I don't trust your engagement. I'm the engaged citizen. I'll inform you. You can go make that decision. That, I promise you, is going to make you vote more than once. If you want to email the people in your church, if you want to go through and text the people in your phone, just a reminder, I voted, there's an election going on for 2 weeks. Here's where you can vote. Here's my list. If you want to take it a step further, you will not cast one vote. You will not cast 2 votes. You will cast dozens of votes from patriots in Kirk County that now know from you to go take action. So please consider doing that, guys. Get out and vote. Be engaged. Thank you guys for coming. God bless you all.